Let's get started. Let's discuss Slipknot, the American heavy metal band whose masks, multiple percussionists, and high entropy live shows became a case study in how aesthetics, logistics, and sound design can co evolve. This is another lecture. I'm Professor Alexei, your guide through today's topic.
Hello, I'm Priyanka, assisting today as the student.
Let's begin with a structural overview. Slipknot is an American heavy metal band formed in Des Moines, Iowa in the mid-1990s. They are known for integrating a 9-person stage unit with 2 custom percussionists in addition to a primary drummer, guitarist, bass, sampler and turntables and vocals. It's important to understand that the masks and uniforms are not mere ornament. They standardize a theatrical identity across album cycles, permitting controlled anonymity during personnel transitions, and synchronizing the visual narrative with evolving sonic choices. To define our terms, heavy metal, and in some cuts thrash metal adjacency, denotes high-gain distortion, emphatic rhythms, double kick propulsion, and vigorous vocals. Slipknot's catalog spans from the extremity of Iowa to the broader dynamics of later periods. The sampler and turntables roles, historically anchored by Craig Jones and Sid Wilson respectively, map studio layers to the stage by triggering and manipulating recorded sounds. In simpler terms, they make the recorded density reproducible live without collapsing into sonic mud.
So, just to clarify, a sampler here isn't simply playing a backing track, right? It's more like live curation of textures.
Precisely. We observe event-level control. Hits, stutters, industrial noises, and atmospheric beds are inserted with timing, analogous to an additional instrument. This preserves responsiveness to the room while maintaining the album's architectural intent. Moving forward, why does this matter in the world outside our seminar? Slipknot catalyzed the generation of modern metal acts to think in terms of production design, curation, and festival economics, not only riffs. Their brand Knotfest, launched in 2012 with museum components and later co-branded with Ozfest, shows how a band can become both performer and cultural organizer, shaping scenes rather than merely renting stages.
I think a lot of people, maybe, misread them as only shock value. Isn't it interesting how that can hide the musical complexity underneath?
Indeed. To some extent, the masks operate as a decoy. Underneath, there is a carefully engineered multi-drum polyrhythmic lattice, tight alternate picking guitar architecture, and a range dynamics that widen significantly by volume 3 and beyond. The misinterpretation dissolves once we examine arrangement choices, producer influences, and the live precision evidenced on 9.0, Live and Day of the Gusano. On to our next point. Some primary facts. Roughly 30 million records worldwide. Their 1999 debut became Roadrunner Records' first platinum album. The live reputation is almost a separate currency, built on pits, pyro, and choreography of impact. Producer partnerships mark eras. Ross Robinson's volatility on Slipknot and Iowa. Rick Rubin's broadened dynamics on Volume 3. Dave Fortman's punch on All Hope Is Gone. This triangulation between personnel, producer, and presentation explains a good deal of their trajectory.
Can we maybe now look at the early history, briefly? The milestones that matter most.
Let's start with the history. 1995. Core founders Sean Crahan, Paul Gray, and Anders Kolsefny formed the Pale Ones in Des Moines. Joey Jordison soon joins, Crahan shifts to custom percussion, and the name Slipknot is adopted after late-night planning at a Sinclair gas station. 1996. The self-released demo Mate, Feed, Kill, Repeat. Craig Jones pivots to sampler and Mick Thompson anchors guitar heft. 1997. Corey Taylor arrives for a more melodic, capable vocal spectrum. Colsefni departs. 1998. Roadrunner signs them to a 7-album, approximately $500,000 deal, and Jim Root completes the classic 9 during the debut's recording. 1999. The self-titled album lands, Ozfest supercharges exposure, and platinum validates the bet. Subsequent peaks include Iowa, 2001, at number 3 in the US and number 1 in the UK. Volume 3, 2004, expands the palette and yields a Grammy for Before I Forget. All Hope Is Gone, 2008, debuts at US number 1. After Paul Gray's death in 2010, the band returns with Point 5, The Gray Chapter, 2014, Then We Are Not Your Kind, 2019, and The End, So Far, 2022, closes their Roadrunner era. It is worth noting that despite turbulence, hiatuses, side projects, legal disputes, and lineup churn, the live machine remains resilient. Examples include continuing a 2015 set after Alessandro Venturalla's medical emergency, and managing a massive 2013 download barricade failure with pauses and resumption. The show, as it were, is designed to continue. A brief personal observation. I attended a European arena date in the late 2000s. From the balcony, one could model the audience response as a series of synchronized shock waves. Percussive cues propagated through the pit like ripples on a drumhead. The masks were theatrical, yes, but the crowd control and pacing were frankly mathematical. Let's proceed to the next point. Let's explore 3 major questions about Slipknot.
I've been wondering about this. Why did their 1999 debut become so pivotal in their career?
Context first. By 1999, they had iterated the lineup to a 9-person unit with a 2-percussionist architecture and a sampler to translate studio density live. They also had Ross Robinson to bottle the volatility rather than sand it down. The record's singles, particularly Wait and Bleed, balanced aggression with a memorable chorus, enabling radio and MTV entry without diluting identity. Simultaneously, Ozfest 1999 served as a massive field test. Live word of mouth accelerated faster than conventional airplay, while the Welcome to Our Neighborhood video product helped codify the visual lore. The result? Roadrunner's first platinum and a global touring platform.
Did their image play a role in that success, or would the music alone have carried it?
Both, but interdependent. The masks and uniforms created immediate recognizability and a sense of ritual. They also allowed the band to manage identity during flux, a tactic used again in 2014 and 2019-2023, when new members were initially unnamed or visually obscured. Crucially, the image prepared audiences for a percussive, industrially inflected sound. When the keg slammed, it looked like it ought to sound. In simpler terms, the semiotics and the sonics converged. This logically leads us to a counterfactual. In 1998, Roadrunner offered a roughly $500,000 7-album deal. What if that deal had not occurred?
What if Slipknot had never signed with Roadrunner Records? Could they have scaled on their own?
We can infer several constraints. First, the band had already self-financed about $40,000 for early sessions. Scaling a 9-member logistics operation, pyro, and international routing without label infrastructure would have been a non-trivial capital and distribution problem in the late 1990s. Second, producers matter. Robinson's engagement was catalytic, and major label backing simplified access to such partnerships and to global marketing. Third, platform effects like Ozfest placement and international retail penetration would have been harder to secure. Therefore, absent Roadrunner, a plausible trajectory is slower growth, deeper underground cachet, and potentially fewer resources to sustain the mask-driven theatricality at arena scale.
Could they have sustained the image without that support? The uniforms, the museum pieces, the whole festival identity?
Perhaps regionally, but not with the same velocity. Masks and production scale with budget. Museum-grade curation and a branded festival like Knotfest require capital, partners, and a catalog with global draw. The early DIY ethic shows intent, but institutional support transformed intent into infrastructure. Theoretically, they might still have broken through on the strength of the live show. Practically, the label compressed the timeline and widened the aperture. Let's transition to another aspect: present uncertainties, lineup changes. Since 2010, the rhythm section and auxiliary roles have been reconfigured. The 2014 rollout of Point 5, the Grey chapter, obscured drummer and bassist identities initially, later confirmed as Jay Weinberg and Alessandro Venturella. In 2019, Chris Fenn's legal dispute coincided with the arrival of an unknown percussionist, later identified by fans as Michael Path. In 2023, announcements about Craig Jones and then Weinberg were posted and quickly deleted. A masked performer filled the sampler role the same day. In April 2024, Eloy Casagrande debuted live as drummer. Contemporaneous teasers included metadata with the name Jeff, widely speculated, though not originally confirmed in that excerpt for sampler. Some claims regarding later alleged departures have been reported without immediate official confirmation. In short, the messaging has often been intentionally oblique.
What challenges does Slipknot face with ongoing lineup changes, musically and organizationally?
Musically, the challenge is continuity of the percussive lattice and the electronic layer. The multi-drum attack is not ornamental, it is load-bearing. A new drummer must interlock with two percussion stations, not merely play to a click. A new sampler must reconstruct the studio strata live, with timing that preserves impact. Organizationally, secrecy can be both asset and liability. Mystery fuels engagement and empowers staged reveals, yet it can produce uncertainty that distracts from releases. Fan sleuthing, identifying Venturella by a hand tattoo in 2014, parsing metadata breadcrumbs in 2024, illustrates an audience that acts as an investigative community. Managing that energy is a modern choreographic problem.
How do fans react to these changes? Does loyalty hold when identities are masked or shifting?
Empirically, headline draws a download. Knotfest and beyond suggest loyalty persists when performance quality remains high. The brand can buffer turnover, particularly when new members are demonstrably elite, as with Casagrande's 2024 debut. That said, it's crucial to understand that the long-run elasticity of loyalty under persistent opacity is under-researched. A promising avenue would triangulate ticketing data, social sentiment, and setlist complexity across transitions. We also note that catalog valuation, for example, a later majority stake sale of rights, signals durable market confidence in the underlying intellectual property, independent of short-term lineup variance.
Maybe that's something we can come back to later. It makes me wonder how the outliers, like Look Outside Your Window, affect expectations for experimentation under the Slipknot name.
Indeed. Separating that project as not a Slipknot album preserves the core brand while allowing parallel exploration. This boundary management likely contributes to audience tolerance for stylistic variance on mainline releases. To summarize, Slipknot is a pioneering heavy metal enterprise from Iowa whose defining elements, masks, multi-percussion architecture, and a sampler-supported density, interact with production choices and festival curation to form a resilient system. We examine three questions. Why the 1999 debut was pivotal? Because aggression met melody, image aligned with sound, and touring platforms amplified impact. What if the Roadrunner deal never materialized? Likely slower, narrower scaling with reduced production capacity. And how ongoing lineup changes pose challenges, demanding technical continuity and careful narrative control, while mobilizing participatory fan investigation.
For further study. Maybe the broader influence of heavy metal on popular culture, films, games, festivals, and the economics behind them.
This then completes our present analysis. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, and see you next time.